welcome to Watercolor Studio 42. And, you know, artists lately, when you visit museums and so forth, you'll find that artists today are experimenting with the media, mixed media, combining different things, crayons, pastels, markers, watercolors, oil. They're putting some of these things into their work. So that on the surface of the canvas, you're getting a whole different array of all sorts of media, different colors that act differently, you know, on the paper. And so that's what I've been doing lately. And lately I've been kind of working to the point where I make it a little bit darker. When I start off, a lot of times, I'll start off, you know, at home. I can start off with a little soft, light pencil sketch, and I can sketch things in. Enough for me to be able to see it. But the problem is, it doesn't show up well on TV. When I watch some of the, you know, some of the programs that are running, the pencil itself doesn't show up as much. So what I've been doing, I sketch it out light and pencil, but I've been going over with a variation of different tips of markers, you know, fine tips and so forth, and I've been using this Sharpie. And if you are going to use water with ink, you want to make sure that the ink is permanent ink, because once you hit it with water, you're going to smudge and blur. But with permanent markers, if they're dry, you know, you can go right over it and it's not going to blur at all. So that's an idea to keep in mind. Now, there's a lot of different ways, like I said, to experiment, and I've been doing the sort of the connecting the dots lately, trying some ideas on that. I don't know if I've come up with anything that spectacular yet, but of course my style, this is kind of a little bit like what I'm doing now. This is one I started last week, and I came back and put in some of the trunks of the trees so that they were heavier. You don't want everything the same thickness, because then it starts looking like it's not realistic enough to be symbolic of trees. So anyways, this is one I was working on. I always do the backgrounds, you know, put in the background, the sky, some of the grass, rocks or sand or whatever it might be. I do that as a base color, and then I work the darker values over that and build it up to a particular point. And always with watercolor, when you do watercolor, when it's wet, it looks darker, but when it dries out, the paint settles into the paper, and it always comes out a little bit lighter. So if you think a color is too dark, check it out in the morning after it's had all night to dry, and you'll find that it's probably okay. Now, there's always room for adjustment, and, you know, not to add too much to your work. They always say, yeah, to do less and let the imagination of the viewer kind of fill it in for you. And there's all sorts of different styles. What they've been doing a lot of lately, they've been doing, a lot of the artists are trying to do realistic paintings. And the only problem with that, they look photographed. If you took a picture of their painting, you'd swear it was another photograph. Now, I can appreciate their ability to paint that well and to draw that well and so forth. But the problem is, I'm from probably the old school, obviously. I still like the painting to look like a painting, and let the photographs look like a photograph, you know, that type of thinking. So that's the way it goes. So, and this is the border. This is the white part around here would normally be like you'd use, like putting a a frame around it, matting it, if you will. And so you can get away with that by putting the tape down first, like I did here. See, I put the tape around on the inside. Whoops, take this off for a second. Put the tape around so that when you pull the tape off, you have sort of like, it's a false type of, mat around your work. But it makes it a lot easier. You just have to take this whole thing and pop it into the frame and put the backing on and put the wire and hang it on the wall, So anyhow, this is what I've been doing. Now, I'm going to start off. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'm just going to show you. I may start this thing off cautiously, okay? A little bit cautiously. I'll start off. I'll probably use the pencil first, okay? And all I do is go around at random. You can plot out what you want to do. You can put things in, the dots. If you want the like the shape of a pan or a pot or something, like the Big Dipper in the sky type of thing, you can go do that. And these dots don't show up. I'll do them a little bit darker. Let's say this is the Big Dipper up in the sky. So you get the stars kind of lined up like the handle and the cup area of the Big Dipper. But if you were to connect those dots together, go across like this, and down, you connect the dots together, and you get something like a pan, with handle and the pot. So that's what I've been doing lately, that type of thing. So here's the exercise. If you want, you just take a pencil and you put dots on a blank piece of paper, blank piece of, your watercolor paper or whatever, drawing paper, and you're going to just put some pencil dots, okay? You can barely see them when they do, and just put them all over the place, maybe in the corners, right? Now, I'm just going to go over these dots that I've just put on here with a darker marker, permanent marker. And I'll just make these, hopefully these dots will show up better on TV, hopefully. Of course, you can kind of go around and make the dot darker. You can make the little dots a little bit darker if you want. I think I got most all the dots in. And then the idea is to, once you put the dots in, then you have to take either, you can do it freehand, like I just did with some of these. I just drew it freehand, connecting the dots together. Now you can decide what color you want to use or whatever. Now if you're not going to connect with a particular dot, you don't want to leave that dot out there by itself. So you can change it into a shape. You can draw a little circle and make the dot larger, and that could be like a wheel of something or the center of a flower or whatever you wanted to be, the spoke of something, So anyways, that's that idea. Now, I put some dots on my paper here, and what I'm going to do now, if you want to make sure you're making the lines straight, you can go from dot to dot with the ruler, okay? And it doesn't matter where you start, and I'm going to just do this with a darker marker so it's going to show up, okay? We're just going to connect the dots, and don't come up sharp. Now, if you get to an area where there's a sort of a dead end, you could take that line and just bring it right out to the edge of the tape. So it's going out of the painting, okay? Or you can do something double back or whatever. Okay, this is using the ruler straight edge, right? Now you can jump around. You don't have to follow it exactly, but just start connecting some of the dots at random. Now, I have no idea what this thing is going to turn out to look like. And no idea at all. And sometimes that's not a bad idea to not know what you're doing in some cases. In most cases, I would say in life, you should know what you're doing. But in the art world, sometimes the artist just throws all caution out the window, right? Okay, here we go. Being cautious. Here we connect the dots. And here we go. I'm going around here. Now you can go around the outside perimeter if you want, see what happens. And you might get to a point where you have to say, okay, well, I've got to add a few more dots, or oh, this thing is not going to go anywhere. So that could happen. Okay. Now you can bring a line back to the same dot. If you want to, let's say, connect something else to this particular dot over here, you can bring one dot to another dot, right? Like that. See how that's working? Now, let's say, for example, you don't want everything to have a straight edge. Well, you've gone dot to dot. Let me, I came up a little short on that one. Let's connect it. Okay. Now, if you want to make some loops on the way or some curvies, you can do that freehand. Okay? See what I just did? I connected this dot over to this dot, but I made the line curve so that you don't have to have everything a straight edge. Let's do another curve from this dot over to this one. Oh, I come up short. I don't know why. Let's do some wavy stuff way out here and connect that one. Okay? Now, you could do this with a few. Of course, I'm used to doing this. I could probably do a straight line a little better than maybe some folks that haven't practiced that. But you don't want to just bring a dot out and just leave it out there. So let's say if I bring a line here, I don't want to leave that. So what I'm going to do, I can put another dot there, or I can put my marker back down and just continue up to this dot. And let's go over to this one again. Make another connection in here, okay? So you see what's happening, it's kind of moving around a bit. Okay, I've got a dot that's all by itself down here. Let's bring this one up to here. Make sure it connects. It can bend a little bit if you want. You can have some fun with it, right? You make this one loop, but make sure eventually it's going to be connected to something. All right? Let's have some fun with this one. Let's just make an arc with this one, okay? Now, we got two little dots floating around here. Why don't we do this here? Connect there. I've got another, why don't we make a straight line? You could, like I said, you could probably draw a pretty good straight line if you've been doing it for a while. Something like that. Now, if that doesn't connect, make sure it goes right to the dot. Kind of hook it up. Okay, here's another one that was floating around by itself. We can put that up to this dot. Now you've got two open ends here. You don't want to just probably leave it open. So why not bring this line over to this dot and close this end over to here down to there. Now, you can also turn the board around when you're working. See, you can look at it from different angles. In fact, when we get through with the dots here, we will do that, see what we can make out of it. Okay, this dot here, let's have some fun with that. Let's have that bump the edge of the tape and come down to that one. Okay, see how that works? Now, what you're doing now is taking in consideration the background shape. See how open that is? All that area, one large area. So I can close it off to the edge of the tape here. I can close it off up to here. I can go beyond that if I want and go to the edge. I could break, see how that's a big shape here? All of that in there, that can be broken up. Bring it down to the edge of the tape. Now the edge of the tape doesn't have a dot, but we'll say it just goes, it has to stop. It has to go there and it will stop to the tape. Okay? So we're having some fun with this, how this is working out. And again, I'm trying to be sort of oblivious to thinking about what it's going to look like. And maybe that's a good idea, maybe it's not. But anyway, here's a dot here. Let's connect this here. And we could go to the edge there. See, breaking up that big shape there. There's all sorts of ways of doing this. Here's a dot here. I can bring this up and break that up. See how that works? Here's an open dot there. We can either bring that over to this dot, but I got it open here, so we can just close that up to here. You can take that and close it into here, bring it out here, so forth. Now, if you want to close up any of these other areas outside, you can always go from a dot and just go out here. Just bring the dot to the edge where the tape is. There you go. You've closed it out. Okay? Now, it depends on how much you want to do with this thing. If you turn the board around and look at it, you might start seeing a lot of things. But be very open-minded about when you do this, that you're just letting these things come into your head, visually. Don't start focusing on any one particular thing. Don't think of it as a cup or a plate or a piano or banana or whatever. Just kind of look at it and see what it might make you think about. Now, if you're not thinking about any particular thing, then you have to start thinking about this thing. Well, it's not going to be any particular subject. It's just going to be an interesting pattern, non-objective. I mean, it has no particular objectives to it. No, there's no objects there that we can identify with. Probably not. Well, let's extend this out to the edge here. Now, keep in mind that you want a distribution of curves and straight edges. You don't want to go all just one way, all just straight edges or too many curves. But kind of break it up. Maybe think straight here, but then the next thing you do is a curve in it, okay? Something like that. So you're alternating between straight edges and curves, okay? Now, this is sort of a fun thing to do. And when you're starting out painting or drawing, if you feel that, your ability to draw well is sort of inhibiting your ability to do art itself or any form of art, well, just do some of these things where you just put dots, connect the dots and keep moving around. And see, turn it around, see what it looks like. If it looks halfway decent, if some of the shapes are too large or too small, don't make a small shape any smaller than what it is. But you can always break up a larger shape. I think we can go from outside up to here too, to another outside. That's okay. We can do that. That was kind of a large shape in there. Now, if there's any other area that you want to kind of break up, maybe we do something crazy about that one. How about that? Combination of straight edge curve, right? Okay. Now, this is open here, so let's close it in. No open ends, okay? Bring it to something, to the edge or to another dot somewhere. Okay, whatever is easier for you. We're not too bad. We're not too bad. I'm starting to see parts of things. Looks like a turtle's hump in there, maybe an antler or something from a moose or something out there, whatever it might be, and whatnot. But like I said, let's close this off in here, see what happens. Yeah. Dot to dot if you can, okay? There you go. So you can get to a particular point where it can get too tight, too clustered, or it needs a little bit more work going to the outside. You can bring some of the outside in too, have some of these lines a little bit heavier and have them come in. I don't like probably your artwork to go too far to the edge, because it might say, hey, look at that guy's work over here. Don't bother with me. But you want people to focus on your work. And if you put too busy a matte frame, especially a frame, keep the frame sort of simple, so that your eye goes to the artwork first, and then you might pay attention a little bit to the frame around it. But if the frame is more attractive than the artwork, then you might have a problem. Okay, now it seems like a lot of times when I go into professional buildings, sometimes they have artwork on the walls, and I'm quite sure a lot of the artwork is prints, but they're very nice prints, and prints cost, a good art print costs quite a bit of money. There was an artist down the Cape one time that was selling prints for $1,100. That's a print. This is a copy of his artwork. And I felt like telling the person, well, I could probably save him a lot of money. I could do the real thing for probably $200 instead of $1,100, but, I didn't say anything. It's nice to listen to. When you go around, if you have some artwork on the wall, it's kind of interesting to listen to what people are saying about your artwork. If they don't know who was that person's painting, you can stand back and kind of listen to what they're saying about your work. And sometimes they have some good comments about it, things that need a little bit of a maybe adjustment or correcting or left out or whatever, or left in too, some things left out that should be there. And so it's interesting to listen to what other people say. If you want a critic, ask somebody that's very honest with you and not trying to, make you feel happy about what you're doing. But if they're very cynical about your work, pay attention to what they're saying, because they may be quite right about what you should be doing in the art world. So, guess what? An open end. Let's bring that right out. Let's put that right out here, right in the corner. How's that? Well, anyway, now I could keep doing this. I really haven't figured out what it could be. So what I would do with this is just leave it as a design within itself, non-objective. And a lot of artwork is that today. My gosh, they take some paint and they sort of throw it at the canvas, and all of a sudden it drips down, and they tip the canvas around, shake it a little bit, and if it looks okay, put a frame on it, sell it for $2,000, whatever. But I'm just joking a little bit, but not too far from the truth. Now, all right, now, so what you want to do is decide what colors. But you don't want to have a whole bag of every color you have in the box or in the case. But the thing is, what you want to do is decide on probably at least three different colors that you might want to use, okay? So you may want to take your paints and just kind of distribute the color around in different areas. And you're safe if you go with the primary colors. And I always tell people, if you don't want to buy every shade of color they have on display, you're always safe with your primary colors because these colors make up all the other colors that exist practically. So you got your yellow, red, and your blue. You got yellow and red. If you mix the two together, you get the orange. If you mix red with blue, you get the violet or purple. And then when you mix yellow with green, I'm sorry, when you mix yellow with blue, you end up with green, okay? So that's it. And those are the secondary colors. And all the other colors are the ones that fall in between the cracks, you know, the associated colors, you know, that relate to one or the other. Okay, now, I'm going to start with yellow today. Now, you could take a marker if you want, and you could put a little dot where you want yellow to go. And I always distribute the color triangle, sort of like a triangle, you know, here to there to there. Okay, so that's yellow. We'll call this one yellow. And where they put them out, up here, I guess, yellow, okay? So now, you decide what brush you want to use. You can use a nice flat brush, flat across the bottom, or you can use a round brush. We'll use a flat. I haven't used my flat brush for a while. So let's get some yellow in there. Now, if you want, you can wet the paper first, just with water, and there's that area where you're going to paint in yellow, you can just fill it in with some water. I happen to get some of the yellow on the brush, that's why it's coming out. But if you want to go darker, just go back into the yellow and get more yellow on the paintbrush rather than too much water. And just fill that shape in. Now, if you go outside the line, that's not the end of the world either, because you can always touch it up or leave it that way. Now, where did we say we wanted yellow somewhere else? We'll say up in here, okay? Around here. Now, when you get to the tape, you can just go off the tape, see it? You don't have to worry about it because you're going to pull the tape off anyways to make up the false mat around your artwork. Get near the edge there, you want to make sure you fill that in so when you pull the tape off, you get a nice clean edge. Okay, we'll pull that one in. Okay. Now what I'm trying to do, another thing, I watch myself on TV and sometimes my head gets in the way. So I'm trying to kind of keep my head back so you're looking at the paper and not at top of my head. All right, now that's lighter because there's more water than paint on the brush. Notice this is using the same shade of yellow, but more yellow than water. So this yellow shade is coming out a little darker than that one is. Not much, but a little bit. Okay, another spot over here somewhere. Oh, this one, yeah, okay. Fill that in. Now, I would probably work a little bit slower than what I'm doing now. I think maybe spend more time thinking about it. Now, I've got 3 yellows, that's okay. But I think I'm going to add a little bit of yellow in here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Not out there. So there is sort of a thing about balancing, you know, the colors and the weight of color. Now, when I say the weight of a color, I don't mean in pounds. I mean in lightness and darkness. If a dark color is darker, I say it's heavier. And if the color is pale, I call it lighter. You know, light and soft. Okay, we got 4. Now, if you want, not a bad idea, you can dip your brush in and take your paper towel, squeeze out that particular color, put the brush back. You don't have to swirl it around. Here you go. Brush is clean again. Now, let's try red. Do we want to mark it ahead of time? Yeah, okay. Let's start with red here. Probably red there. 1, 2, and let's see, red there. Okay, so you got a row of red. All right, see what happens. So we want to activate the red. Now, when you lighten a red down with water, you're going to get a pink color. So anytime you want your colors to be lighter, softer, you just put more water on the brush. Or more water on the paper too. Here we go. We'll fill this one in. Looks like a stocking shape, doesn't it? I'm still thinking about Santa Claus Christmas time with that red stocking. All right, come down through here. Come around the corner. Okay. Now, if you want to leave a little bit of highlight in there, you know, make a shiny spot, you can do that. Okay. Let's do this one. Now, I'm going to move right along here, so hopefully I can get this all painted in today. A lot of times I have to finish the picture up sometimes at home. Bring it back like that one there. Last week I didn't finish the trees off as much. Okay, you got darker red. Let's do this one down here. Now these two reds touching each other, you can let that go. You can let that go, but you may want to make this one a lot lighter. A lot lighter. Like that, so it's really sort of more pinkish color. Okay, here we go. All right, now okay, I'm not being fussy about this. If it goes over the line a little bit, it's okay. I'll show you something a little bit later that I do all the time. We got two reds, and we've got 4 yellows. Let's put a red in here, sort of pinkish color. Pink, fill that one in pink. And then, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3. How about red up here? Some pink, actually. If you want a little darker, like that one, we'll put some more paint on the brush. Okay. You just throw it in there a bit. Now, I was talking a little bit about highlight. Now, before the paint can dry, you can use a clean spot of your paper towel, and you can blot it. You can bring back some highlight in it if you want. If you don't want, you just leave it. Okay, just leave it the way it is. 1, 2, 3. How about over here with a red? Let's do this. Wait a minute. It's up against the pink, isn't it? Oh, well, let's see if I can find. You know, I'm getting to the point where I can't really get away from that. So maybe I'm going to have to stay right now with three shapes that are red. So let's do the other color. Let's try blue. Now, blue, let's see, how about in here, whereabouts? Oh, probably there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I can get away with that to 4, okay? And maybe that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, see what we got. All right, again, I would be a lot more careful about probably staying inside the line, but I want to see if I can finish this today, finish it off better. Okay, fill this in. little different shades. I left some highlight in there. If you don't want to make it have some highlight, you don't have to. You can touch that up, you know, patch it up. Okay, we're over here. We'll fill this in over here. Come around the corner here. Now you can have different shades of blue within the same area if you want. You know, you can have a real dark side and then it can kind of pull it out, make it lighter. Okay. If you have a problem with this, we can also, I'm going to probably finish that off with, oh, let's do it now while we're at, just make that all one big shape. Fill that right in now. Nice little triangle in there. There we go. Touch that up. Fix up over here. Okay, you get the idea. Now we want to fill this one in. Now some of these areas, if you can leave them white. You don't have to fill in all the shapes. You can just leave the white of the excuse me, the white of the paper in there. Here you go. You can wet the paper, spread the paint around easier if you wet the paper first. Like I said, I'm doing this in a hurry, so normally I would slow down a bit. Okay, here you go. Now you have to remember when I started talking about doing this, I have nothing particular in mind. To me, it's just shapes. It's an assortment of shapes, not any particular objects. And there might not be any magic to it that I can change anything, you know, to be whatever it was. I can't put eyes and feet on it and make it look like a bird, or I could, but I probably wouldn't. I just take this as what it is. It's just a design with shapes. Now you've got left over, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now you can leave them white. I probably wouldn't though. I wouldn't. Now you can put a neutral color in there. You got your primary colors. You can add another color to this. I probably wouldn't use green. I wouldn't add green into this, but you know, look what I did. I almost look like a little eye in there. What I'm going to do, just fill this in. I'm just going to go with a lighter shade of blue. Just kind of fill that in, rather than to keep it just white. So just fill that in with some blue. And why not, while we're at it, why don't we make this lighter shade of blue? Now we should only have 1, 2, 3, 4 areas to fill in, okay? Let's do this. Let's make this over here a lighter shade of blue and see what it looks like if I left 1, 2, 3 white. Now paint them in. Okay. Something like that, okay? Now what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 areas of white. Now, We have a combination of two reds in here. We get blue, yellow work well together. Now I can do something a little bit with this, but I'm not quite sure what I'd want to do with it. So I'm just going to make it very, very light. Just keep that, just put a tint down the white. See if that helps. Yeah, it's all right. Let's do the same thing with this one. Just very soft wash of blue. Just what's on the brush, pretty much. Something like that. Now this still doesn't look too great, does it? I like to turn these things around too and look at it. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. These things don't always work well. And you can't expect, when you do this, when you don't have a game plan, you can't expect it always to come out, the way you want it to. I'm just using up my blue. Yeah. By the way, blue is one of my favorite colors, obviously, what I'm wearing. Blue. I like a lot of blue. Okay. A lot of songs have the word blue in it too. Blue skies smiling at me, right? A lot of songs with blue. Okay, here we go. That's a little bit too much the same. Now, another thing what they do sometimes, if they have two colors that are kind of clashing together, they'll leave a white between. Sometimes, red up against the green, so they leave a band of white to separate red from green because they sort of clash a little bit. So you can leave some white in there if you want. Now, this is kind of light down here. I want to get this a little darker to like this color. So I have to come back, make sure my brush is nice and clean, or use a different brush, and just take a little bit of my pink and just go over this and see if I can tame it down a bit. I got a little paint in there too. Kind of blend that out. Now you can take your blue, you can mix it in with the red, and you get sort of a off grayish color. And that might solve the problem. If it works, it gets along with some of these other colors. So if I'm doing that here, why not do it to this one? Just what's on the brush, the paint on the brush probably is enough to do the job. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to move this around. Now this is what we call cleanup time. Okay, I fill this in a hurry, so I've got a few minutes left over. So this is where I do a little bit of touch up, clean up the edges a little bit. See what you can go down here, or you can leave some of the white in there if you want. Clean it up a little bit. Now, here's another thing you might want to do too. If you don't want these edges to be overly hard, you can take a little bit of the color from one area, pull this out into here. So you could take some of the red out of here and push it into the blue here, and kind of soften down the edge of the marker. Now, if that looks like a blob, you don't like it, you could take your brush and you use your brush like a sponge and take some of that out of there so it's not quite as noticeable. Let's just lift it out, pull this out, and just soften the edge. Now, if the blue gets a little bit into the red, that's okay, because now we've got purple. You see how it mixes and makes purple into that. But sometimes if you do that, you might want to do something like that over here. It's funny how it works. If you do something just in one area, it looks like somebody spilled something on it. But if you repeat that same texture somewhere else, they'll say, oh, he purposely wanted that to be like that, so let's make this look like that, you know, or that look like this. You know, see how that works? So that's kind of, you can kind of clean it up a little bit, okay? Now what I would do probably after this really dries down, I would go back into this, not now, because your marker doesn't work on wet, any surface that's wet. Wet paint, the markers won't work. But after it all dries down, then I would go around this. I would go around and kind of make some of those lines a little bit heavier in here. And you can always wet watercolor. If this is too dark here, see how you might want to take some of that out of there. You just wet the brush, wet it here, let the water kind of reactivate the color, blot it, see how you can lighten it up, bring out anything you want to do. If this is too dark here, do what I just did, water, wet it, let it activate the color, and then blot it. And you can make that area lighter, okay? So there's not really any way of sort of making a mistake if you repeat that same effect somewhere else. Now, that's kind of strange saying that, isn't it? But like I said, if you spill paint in one spot, everybody say, oh, he spilled paint. But if you put that spill in here, 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 they'll say, oh, he purposely wanted to do that, because he wouldn't spill it here, 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 3 times or 4 times by accident, right? So that's how that would work. Yeah, I just wanted to take some, make sure I'm going to the edge here, because I'm getting ready to pull the tape. Getting ready to pull the tape today. Make sure your edges are all kind of nice and clean, filled right in, all the way around. Now, you have to be careful, because you can get to a point where it does look like you just scribbles, okay? And a lot of artwork today, in my opinion, and they want thousands of dollars for it, it looks like they just, like hen scratch, you know, all over the place. And they get a lot of money for these paintings. So, you know, you don't want to worry, but you don't want to make it too obvious. You know, you do have to show that you're trying to do something other than just spill paint on the paper. Just blend some of this out. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of take the tape off here, and the so-called matte is like magic. No matter what you do on the paper, the matte, that nice clean area around it, always locks it in and makes it look halfway decent, no matter what you do. And sometimes even spilling paint, you know, if it looks interesting, it might be better than some of the work that you'd spend hours being fussy with. I have a friend, sometimes it's hard to talk to him, and I try to help him along a little bit. I said, you know, I'm always saying this, it's not the quantity, how many paintings you do. You know, you do 80 paintings a week, but it has a lot to do with the quality. If you just hurry through like I just did, you know, doing this today as a demo, some of that might not come out so good, you know. So you have to be careful. So I always say put quality ahead of quantity. You have to have some quality in your artwork. You just don't put a frame and a mat on something that's really, you know, gooky, gunky, whatever. So here we are. Now, what I did was I laid some, well, I'm going to make sure that's dry first. I don't want it too wet. I don't want to mess up that mat, that false mat I'm going to have on the paper yet. We take this off. Don't pull it straight because sometimes it will damage the surface of the watercolor paper. But be careful about it. You kind of lift it up on a 45-degree angle like this. See? 45 degrees. I'm going both ways here, pretty good. There we go. Okay. Now, good tape. Sometimes it's too good. There you go. All right. Oh boy. Wow, oh wow, that's good. That came off nice and clean. You never know how this is going to work out. Ooh, it looks halfway decent, doesn't it? Everybody has their own opinions. It's amazing some of the artwork that people love it. And I said, are you serious? I mean, what's the magic about that? My God. And when I say sometimes it looks like somebody threw paint at it, it really does look like somebody threw paint at it. And missed in places. But you know, you still have to, there's still certain rules that you have to apply, like the distribution of color, variation of shapes, things like that you have to think about. Tore a little bit of that off there, but it's okay. But see, this is kind of the false mat, and you can kind of move this around and decide which way you want to hang it on the wall, or which way you want to drop it in the wastebasket, so to speak. But anyways, that's the idea of that. And so these things can be fun, but you don't want to get too serious. But you do have to apply some of the rules, you know, like variation of shapes and texture and whatnot, and color distribution, you know, sort of balance it off a little bit. It's a little bit globby here, a little bit heavy through here. It looked like I really didn't know what I was doing, and maybe that has a lot of truth to that, but you can kind of touch it up. In the morning, that glob that's there now will look a lot lighter, but it still might need to be cleaned up a bit. You know, drop some water on it and just kind of take a paper towel or whatever, and just blot it out, make it lighter in places. But that's a non-objective paint. It is really hard to find any subject in that. You can have a good imagination. This could look like the side of a head, looks like a person's ear here, but you can't go too far with it. Whatnot. So that's it, folks, and thanks for being with us. And oh, where's the brush? Let's use this one. Let's use this one. Brush it up, and thanks for being with us.